Former Impact Wrestling Knockouts World Champion Madison Rayne has signed with AEW and is set to make her in-ring debut tomorrow night on AEW Rampage. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. I hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling / Impact Wrestling. Of course, tonight is Thursday, which means it's another episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. But one person who won't be appearing is the former Knockouts champion Madison Rayne, because yesterday, and we did cover this in this talent relations overhaul upgrade development. I've merged two words together there. And one of them was involving Madison Rayne being signed by All Elite Wrestling to be a coach for the women's division. As I mentioned yesterday, AEW announced the hiring of longtime Impact Wrestling star Madison Rayne as a coach for their women's roster. A few hours later, the president, CEO, head of creative of the company, Tony Khan, said that he was, quote, open to the idea of the former Knockouts World Champion wrestling for his company. Wow, Tony Khan, of course, was playing very, very coy because he'd already booked Madison Rayne for a match. He was more than open to the idea because he almost certainly knew that he was going to be booking Madison for a match on this week's live episode of AEW Rampage on TNT. Now, at the time of recording this now, no opponent has been announced for the show in Grand Rapids, Michigan on Friday. However, PW Insider is reporting that during last night's Dark Elevation taping, Rayne had a, quote, verbal altercation with Jade Cargill while working commentary for the show, which led to a match against Layla Gray being announced for Rampage. So she's going to be facing against Layla. Was it Lila? Is that how you say it? Layla Gray, announced for Rampage. Now, this Dark Elevation is actually going to take place tonight. After Dynamite went off the air last night, Tony Khan took to social media to announce that there would be this special episode of Dark Elevation, which is taking place tonight. I don't think it's on TV. I think it's on YouTube. But Madison Rayne was going to be working commentary for the show, which isn't out of her wheelhouse, of course, because she was on commentary for Impact Wrestling for a real significant amount of time. Throughout most of the pandemic, actually, throughout the majority of the pandemic, a lot of those empty arena shows, she was on commentary with her husband, Josh Matthews. Wasn't the biggest fan, I must be said, of her on commentary. I thought she did fine, but I wasn't the biggest fan of her on commentary. But she is going to be, in addition to being a coach for the women's division, in addition to doing commentary for AEW, she's also going to be wrestling beginning this Friday on Rampage. And it would appear that going forward, she's going to be the next victim for TBS champion Jade Cargill, which, to be fair, is smart booking. First of all, Jade Cargill, while she is improving, she is still very, very green and still can be clunky at times in the ring. I know she's training a lot with Bryan Danielson and William Regal to improve her ability in the ring, but smart booking is to put her in the ring with experienced seasoned pros, and Madison Rayne is the perfect person to make her look great in the ring whilst remaining undefeated, whilst remaining the TBS champion. That makes a lot of sense. So the overall signing of Madison Rayne did kind of take me a little bit by surprise. I was under the assumption, and again, I might be wrong, I might have missed something, there's a lot going on in the world of pro wrestling, but I was under the assumption she was still with Impact Wrestling. Of course, she very recently been working for Impact Wrestling. She was part of the Knockouts tag team division. She was teaming up with Madison Rayne, and during their feud with The Inspiration, and I believe recently dropped the championships as well. So that was kind of surprising. In addition to wrestling for Impact, she was working backstage as a producer. She worked for a producer, not just for the women's division, I just think just in general for Impact Wrestling. She'd worked as a backstage producer, worked on creative as well for the company. So for her to leave Impact to AEW, look, I'm sure probably the money is better. The schedule is not entirely different, to be honest, between AEW and Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling runs events twice, maybe 3 times a month. AEW's a little bit more, clearly, because it's week-to-week television, but a lot of the time they tape all of their TV at the same time. So, this week's a bit of an oddity because they've got, the AEW Dynamite, then they've got the live Rampage and the Battle of the Belts taping, so it's a bit more intensive than it would usually be, but still, the AEW schedule is fairly light. I remember with Madison Rayne, again, I covered her a lot, doing a lot of the Impact Wrestling videos that we do here on the channel. And I recall when she was working commentary, as I mentioned, with Josh Matthews. And again, I felt that she did fine. I wasn't the biggest fan, and I did like when they brought in Matt Stryker and D'Lo Brown as the commentary team, and now like the commentary team of Tom Hannifan and the former Aiden English, Matthew Rewald, in that role. I think they do a really good job, and I think Impact Wrestling actually has one of the stronger commentary teams around. I'm a fan of the two-person booth, so I thought she did a fine job, but I felt her best and most effective role in Impact Wrestling was going to be behind the scenes and occasionally in the ring when she wrestled. But when she left Impact Wrestling back in towards the end of 2020, I believe, she'd actually retired. They did a big grand sort of send-off for her, and I believe she was going to work in sort of the fitness industry or the health industry or something like that. She'd been, going back to school or something of that nature, and then she was back in the company just months later and appearing on screen once again, and it was revealed that she was going to be, in addition to appearing on screen, she was going to be backstage working as a producer, helping put together matches, helping with creative, helping with the Knockouts division. So she's got a significant amount of experience. It's a great signing for AEW, no doubt about that. And look, the AEW women's division, we've spoken about this a lot here on the channel. It's probably one of the worst aspects of AEW, and that is no slight whatsoever against the talent. And Madison Rayne coming into AEW just improves what is already a strong talent pool. They've got some fantastic workers on that roster, whether it's Thunder Rosa, whether it's Britt Baker, whether it's Toni Storm, whether it's Athena, whether it's Madison Rayne, whether it's Jamie Hayter, whether it's Hikaru Shida, whether it's whoever. They've got a fantastic women's division. They really truly do, but it will always be in the position that it's in if it's not taken seriously, if it's not given the appropriate time and spotlight that it deserves, if they're not given main events, if they're not given, when I say main events, I mean of TV shows, I mean of pay-per-views. And I know Tony Khan's been asked about this before, and Tony Khan says, well, AEW women have main evented some big events. They main evented the first St. Patrick's Day Slam, and they main evented the first Grand Slam edition of Dynamite from Arthur Ashe Stadium. But my counterpoint with that, the Arthur Ashe Stadium, yes, they went on last. They were not the main event of that show. It was Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson, and it opened the show and it went to a time limit draw. They opened the show to go to a time limit draw because they didn't want to risk it in the main event. That was the main event of that show. You cannot tell me otherwise. The Grand Slam edition, the St. Patrick's Day Slam, that would be significant if AEW didn't have a special name for Dynamite every other episode. How many special names are there of Dynamite? Whether it's Quake at the Lake next week, Fyter Fest Night 1, Night 2, Fight for the Fallen, St. Patrick's Day Slam. Do we need to go on? Winter is Coming, Grand Slam. There's loads of different names for these AEW shows. New Year's Smash, New Year's Bash. So them main eventing the first St. Patrick's Day Slam edition of Dynamite is no great shakes. To really get the improvement in the women's division, and again, it's nothing to do with quality in the ring. You have to give them time, you have to give them a spotlight, and you have to give them the ability to get over. That's what WWE does well, and they have done well, and I think they'll improve once again under the regime of Triple H as he gives the females time, he gives them main events of TV shows, of pay-per-views, and he allows the characters to get over and work great matches. AEW is reluctant to do that. Would AEW ever main event their biggest pay-per-views of the year, Double or Nothing or All Out, with female talent? They wouldn't. We know they wouldn't. And frankly, at the moment, they shouldn't, because they haven't given their talents the opportunity to get over enough to do that. In instances such as the St. Patrick's Day Slam, when they had the main event between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker twice, they delivered. But you can't, again, you can get in all of the great coaches in the world, you can bring in Madison Rayne, you can bring in all of these talents, unless you're willing to invest the time and tell your audience to take the division seriously, you're always going to be stuck. And that's the issue that AEW has. Can Madison Rayne help develop that? I hope so. Will she? That's a Tony Khan call, ultimately. But let me know your thoughts on Madison Rayne signing with AEW in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.